ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey, man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann, and this is episode number 83 of the show. And yeah, man, it's only been a few days since the last time I talked to you guys, man. I was on the mic last, what was that, Monday, I want to say. Monday or Sunday, something like that. But yeah, man, you know, we had some stuff going on, man. Had a lot of stuff happening over the course of the week, man. And we're going to talk out quite a bit. And we're going to talk about all of it. Let me just make that clear. We're going to talk about all of it. But, of course, before we do that, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with your man Spann over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. There's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. And if you're watching us here live on YouTube and or Facebook, you can go ahead and chop it up with your boy Spann live while we're doing the show. So, again, that's area code 313-288-0485. You can also hit me up on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. So go ahead, chop it up with your man Spann and with me throughout the week. Also, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and or Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, leave us some comments over there on Spotify as well. You know, you do have the ability to do that. On YouTube, man, you know, we got a bunch of YouTube comments this week, and we're gonna address those. But like, yeah, if you do leave some YouTube comments, man, we will highlight those comments and respond to those comments here as well. Also, if you want to give us some money and we want you to get something back if you gave us some money, right? So if you want to donate to the show, you can do that through Patreon. We do have a Patreon. I do a very terrible job of promoting the Patreon, but we do have a Patreon. However, I do want you to get something back for your money. So we do have a store, and in our store, man, we have, coffee mugs and T-shirts and hats, and it's getting cold outside, so we got hoodies and whatnot too, man. So we appreciate you guys for supporting us in that way, and in turn, you get something tangible back for your contribution. So we really do appreciate everybody who supports us and helps us out in that way, man. Real talk. But yeah, man. Oh, so this week, I was involved in a goddamn car accident, man. Yeah, man, motherfuckers don't want your man Spann to be great. You know what I mean? Real talk. I really do appreciate those of you who did reach out, and express, the gratitude for me still being here. I really do appreciate that. And I know, first things first, everybody says is like, well, so long as you okay, it's just property and stuff like that. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. When I was first hearing that, I was not trying to hear that shit at all, bro. I really wasn't, man. Like, I was so fucking upset. I was so heated. I got out of my car right after that. So let me tell y'all what happened. I was on my way home from work. And, it's typical, on your way home from work, the route and everything else. You just it becomes routine, right? And I'm sitting in traffic. Of course, the light is, it's a red light ahead of me. So traffic is stopped in front of me. I'm sitting in traffic waiting. And for whatever reason, man, I looked up in my rearview mirror and I saw this one car. Seemed like the car was like, going at a pretty good clip, a high rate of speed considering the conditions and shit, especially considering like, you running it's about to be a red light. Like, you might want to slow the fuck down, right? But at the last minute, I guess they may have seen me sitting there and they swerved over to the left and they got into the left-hand lane, and they kept going. And I don't know what it was, man, but something told me. My spidey senses was fucking tingling, man. And something told me to keep watching my rear view. And I'll be damned if I didn't see yet another car coming at a really high rate of speed. Only this car wasn't slowing down. And they looked like they had no intentions on slowing down. And I'm sitting behind yet another car, and I can't do anything. I'm a sitting fucking duck, right? I'm just sitting there. And as I'm sitting there, I'm like watching them, and I'm watching them. I'm like, this bitch is about to hit me. And sure enough, motherfucker ran right into the back of my goddamn car, man. Yeah, man, hit the back of my car. Made me run into the, to the back of the car in front of me. And the young lady got out of the car, man. She super duper apologetic. First things first, I'm thinking to myself, like, what the fuck? I'm like, yo, what the fuck, man? Like, that was my thing. When I got out of my car, I get out of the car, I'm going to assess the damage, and I'm looking, it's like my rear bumper is basically ripped off my fucking car. The spare tire kind of hanging down a little bit. My lift gate on my SUV, like that bitch just kind of smashed in a little bit. Then I go around to the front, and now one of my parking sensors has been ripped out. One of my tow hooks has been pushed in. It was a whole, it was quite a bit, man. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I got insurance. And one of the things I did notice was that, like, they were trying to hide blunts and shit. I don't know if these motherfuckers was getting high in the car or what. All I know is whomever was behind that fucking wheel was not clearly, they weren't paying attention to something. So I don't know what the fuck. Because again, traffic has stopped. I'm waiting on a red light to clear and go green. And here I am just minding my business on my way home from work, and somebody smacks my shit. And so, yeah, man, right now it's just like the whole thing of like dealing with the insurance and whatnot. I'm still able to drive my car. Ironically enough, man, considering how hard they hit me, I'm surprised that the airbags in my car didn't deploy at all. I'm also kind of like, yo, I'm wondering, like, because I was already paying attention and looking in my rearview mirror, that I didn't suffer any like real injuries or anything, because I was prepared. I was bracing to be hit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like if I hadn't been paying attention, there could have been like, some sort of whiplash or something like that I could have suffered or whatever else, man. But I did go to the doctor afterwards. Everything checked out, but doc told me to take a day off of work or whatever, just to make sure I didn't feel any after effects or anything latent. Make sure anything latent didn't just kind of pop up on me. But yeah, man. So, my ride is, not as cool as it was before, man. I'm a little upset. I was upset about it, man. Like, even now, I'm like, shit, my ride now thinks that the fucking lift gate is still open when I'm driving it. And so the interior lights will not shut the fuck off, and it's hard for me to get my seatbelt on, and it's like, it's all so much bullshit, man. So, all that to be said, though, yes, your man Spann is grateful to be here. I do recognize that, it could have gone a hell of a lot worse. Grateful to God that it wasn't, anything worse. But at the same time, man, please, people, when somebody goes through some shit like that, please don't try to like police their anger. Right? Because I had a guy roll up on me. It's just property, man. It's just property. And I swear to God, I almost, man, fuck you, bro. Like, I was so hot, man. But ultimately, man, everybody, was able to walk away from this accident. And, we'll let the insurance companies do what the fuck they do. Hopefully they make your boy whole. That's the only thing I can really worry about at the end of the day. But yeah, we got that going on. Shout out to my man Adam. Adam's in the chat room, man. Appreciate you, brother. Good looking, good seeing you here. Dwayne's in the chat room, said, what's up, Spann? Some of these so-called left-leaning people is romanticizing this chaos at the expense of Orange Mussolini. They are never on our side. We're going to get to some of that tonight, man. Trust me, brother. Let's see, because my man Dwayne, he's already on it, man. He's seen the thumbnail. He's like, I'm really disappointed in Conscious Lee, and he had to unfollow because he is not the true revolutionary some think he is. And then he also says, I'm glad you're okay from the accidents, man. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much. And my man Jay Fool says, damn, hope they fix your ride quickly, but who knows how parts going to go with these tariffs, man. Listen, that's the other part, man. Like, more than anything else, man, like, just the inconvenience of that, having to deal with the insurance companies and getting your car fixed, and like, hey, I need a rental so I can get back and forth to work. Like, y'all are inconveniencing me and all this stuff, man. So yeah, it's a headache I didn't fucking need, man. It's really a headache I just did not need. And yeah, man, on top of some other things your man Spann is dealing with personally, man, I'm just like, another one, man. I need to catch a break. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate y'all in the chat, man. Thank you so much. But yeah, man, I like I said, man, I got a lot of I got a lot of feedback somewhat this week. Now, here's the thing, and I've said this from for some time now. Generally, the people that do not like you take all the effort in the world to make sure that you know that they don't like you. And the people that really do fuck with you, sometimes, man, they just and they cool with just enjoying you. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah, I listen to such and such, but they don't say much. You know what I'm saying? They may not necessarily leave the feedback. They may not necessarily leave the 5-star reviews and whatever else. And I mean, I get it. Life. I understand that. But I also let y'all know, man, like, yo, the people that don't fuck with you go out of their way to let you know they don't fuck with you. And so what ended up happening was, after I got finished recording episode 82 of the show, sometimes what I end up doing, if I do have the time to do it, a lot of times it's like me just having the time to do it. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll take segments of the show and then just release those segments as their own YouTube video, right? And what I found out was that, like, I mean, it wasn't as if I was surprised by it at all. As a matter of fact, it was almost kind of expected. But I got a lot of feedback as far as like the video I put out about the Charlie Kirk impersonator showing up on the campus of Tennessee State University. Got a lot of feedback on that one, and I also was getting feedback on the video about. Hold on, let me see, which one was that? Which one was it? It was. Oh yeah, the phony right-wing victimhood. And that was a segment that I did where we were talking about the lady at the Starbucks who was, making just making a scene out of the fact that no one called out Charlie Kirk's name at the Starbucks or whatever. And so what ended up happening was those videos started to get, some comments from of course folks who are bad faith. Let's just keep it a buck. I can look at how, like, the average time that they watch the videos and everything else, they never actually address anything that I say in those videos. It's usually just ad hominem and personal attacks or whatever else, and what have you. But there were quite a few comments made, and so we're gonna deal with this the listener feedback, because again, this is listener feedback. As much as it may not necessarily be flattering, we don't hide from anything over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. This is real talk all the time, and I'm gonna talk my shit. I'm gonna let you talk your shit, but trust and believe, this ain't no dictate. I mean, this ain't no democracy here. This is a dictatorship, and I don't really have to fuck with you if I don't want to fuck with you. But we're gonna let this. We're gonna examine this, right? Because ironically enough, this is what kind of these comments is what kind of made it. What made this episode get titled the way that it is, and that is America has MAGApox. Okay, and I what made me think of that, man, is like, think about this, man. For those of you who have ever had chickenpox is one of those things that it used to be a thing where you got as a child. You know what I'm saying? And it was an unwanted thing. You didn't really want the fucking chickenpox, but the chickenpox was there, and you had to deal with the chickenpox. And you couldn't wait for the chickenpox to leave, and it always had these little red bumps, right? And now when I think about it, I kind of feel like that's how MAGA is on the ass of America. I think that MAGA is a pox on the ass of America. Most of the people in America don't really fuck with MAGA like that. We dealing with it though, because they here. You know what I'm saying? They got those red caps on, so like if you took a satellite image and all the red caps is like little pox all over the ass of America, right? And they're pretty much, they're unwanted. Nobody wants it, but yet and still we have to deal with it. And so that's kind of how I feel about MAGA. MAGA is a pox on the ass of America. And so we're going to talk. We're going to pull up some of the comments that were being made on the video that I did, which was about phony right-wing victimhood. Okay, let me just go to the video because I don't like the way this YouTube studio shit is set up. So I just want to go to where the comments and shit are. Okay, and so let's see. First comment by D Huffy 9753 says, "Nice video. Nah, just kidding. Nice try though. The left has perfected victimhood. Less people are falling for it. Don't be dumb." So this here just kind of lets me know that this person didn't actually really watch the video. They saw the title of the video and just reacted to the title. They couldn't actually deal with the substance of what was being said and what was being presented in that video. So, be that as it may, like I said, ironic. I'm like, yo, you're probably more than likely a Trump supporter. I'm not really taking advice from Trump supporters, man. Y'all don't see, clearly y'all aren't the brightest bulbs in the box. You know what I'm saying? The jokes just kind of write themselves on that. And then someone else says, really, bro, you just proved you're a victim. MAGA / the right plays the victim. Oh, that's somebody in support of me. But they said MAGA in the right plays the victim card just as much, if not more than the left. And this is coming from a political moderate. Someone else said, this Spann clown reminds me of Steven from Django Unchained. Can y'all imagine that? Me? What? From me, nigga. Like, hold on. Like, this, come on, man.
Niggas.
Really, nigga? He reminds me of Steven from Django. You can't destroy Candyland. We've been here. He's always going to be. I don't even know what context they would even get from this video that would give them that impression, but whatever, man. Again, the jokes write themselves. Someone else says, an unwise venture trying to appear to be interesting enough to make bank. F.O. bullseye. I don't even know what the fuck that means. So yeah, man, we got that going on. Let's see what else. Okay, so those are all the comments. Well, there were 33 comments made on this particular video. Some of them were replies by me because every now and again, if I'm bored, man, I might mix it up a little bit. But yeah, man. I can't believe we are so separate. This lady Jennifer Salvador, 1894, says, "I can't believe we're so separate. They fired Tucker and many others. 100 disagree with every thought you have." Okay. Okay. I don't even know what the fuck that's supposed to mean, but there we go. Let's see. Also, someone said Matt Morris. Wait. Where are we? Because I think this is where most of those comments came from. So, no, that's it. Okay, yeah. So we got that going on. Those were some of the comments that were being made on the video about phony right-wing victimhood. Again, sometimes with the YouTube sort of comment section on videos, man, a lot of times those comment sections can be cesspools. I'm aware of that. I've been on YouTube 16 years now. I just got the notification from YouTube Studio today that my channel on YouTube is 16 years old today. So like, it's been a while. So it's been a while, right? So we got that going on. That was some of the comments that were being made on that particular video, right? Now, on another video that I did, spawning from episode 82, was the Charlie Kirk imitators run off of TSU's campus. Now, of course, you guys know I'm a Tennessee State University alumni. I went to school there. That is like home to me. I hate that I'm not going to be able to get down there to homecoming this week because of that goddamn car accident, man. So, that's thrown a monkey wrench into my whole going to homecoming program. But, there are some people who took offense to the fact that I actually defended the fact that those students got them people up out the paint. And so Midnight Chocolate 2890 says, "I disagree with you. Those are not teenagers. These are young adults. The only point of what they were doing is to promote debate. What matters is that freedom of speech is a constitutional right. If they are met with violence, it only proves that the institution is failing these kids." Now, understand something, but there was no violence being had at the campus of Tennessee State University. Those dudes were not assaulted. Those dudes were not kidnapped. Those dudes were not beaten up. Those dudes came into Tennessee State University to antagonize those kids, right? Now, you could say it's a freedom of speech thing. And I keep telling people who argue freedom of speech. Listen, freedom of speech only protects you from persecution from the government. That is it. And that is all. It does not preclude you being booted the fuck out of some institution. It does not preclude you catching an ass whooping for some of the shit you may have said. If you say something malicious and it involves people getting hurt or a call to violence, you can be prosecuted for that. Right? So this idea that, they just only there to exercise their free speech, and they didn't even go about it the right way. They didn't even file the fucking paperwork with the university to let them know that they were going to even try to be there to do the shit that they were doing. And so it's like, it becomes one of those things where, like I said, I know those folks were down there content farming, but it becomes one of those things where, like, it's analogous to this. You go over to a fucking wasp nest and you hit the wasp nest, and then you get surprised that the wasp is trying to sting your ass, right? You went over there to start some shit. Some shit got started up, and now you surprised that you were dealing with the ramifications of the shit you started. And it's crazy to me that so many, of the right, this disingenuousness that they have about this is like, listen, those kids were minding their business. You didn't have to come to their school. As a matter of fact, you were not even invited to their school. You imposed yourself upon them and thought that they were just supposed to engage you civilly and cordially and all that other shit. And no, that's not what they were there for. You were there for the content ultimately. Now, some people say they don't, some people who don't necessarily agree with the MAGA folks showing up on TSU's campus, but they also say, well, I don't think those kids should have behaved that way. I said, man, those kids behaved in a way that made it very uncomfortable for no motherfuckers to be here, and TSU's police department got them the fuck up off of campus, right? You guys are creating a disturbance here now. Your presence here is unwelcome. You are also uninvited. How hospitable are you to uninvited guests in your home? Don't worry, I'll wait. I'm not very hospitable to a motherfucker parking in my driveway, right? So imagine them motherfuckers in my house and they not invited. It's gonna be some smoke in the fucking city, right? But that was one of the comments that this person made. Now, of course, like I said, I did have some back and forth with some folks in here, and this dude James Otley, he says stealing, screaming Black Power, intentionally blocking the road with a car so that the debaters couldn't leave, throwing objects at their car, and beating their car is not civil behavior. There is no justification for that pathetic display of behavior. The student's behavior was abhorrent. Now, here's the thing. If any of that shit really happened the way that this person said it happened, there would be police reports. I'm sure that those people couldn't wait to get to the police to say, hey, this happened to us. But did they do that? No, they did not. They didn't do that at all. Nigga! He also says encouraging disagreement and debate is antagonizing. That is an insane take. Again, I'm going to say this. This is going to come up later, but nobody owes you a debate. Nobody owes you any interaction. You can't, impose yourself on someone and then police how what their reaction to you is going to be. Right? You can't do that. Somehow, some way, a lot of these MAGA folks feel like they can impose their presence on people and then police how their presence is being received. You don't get that. You don't get that. He also says it was public property, but it's also, although it's public, it's not public property. It's a public university. You still got to have reason to be there. Like the students have to be there with ID. The faculty have to be there with ID. Those who are not there for, studious purposes have to justify why they're there. And if they can't do that, then guess what? Your ass is escorted up off the campus the way these dudes were, right? Ultimately, he says the kids committed 3 crimes, and that was what he says is the beating of the car and the stealing of. He said they stole these guys' stuff. They stole their signs or some shit. So, yeah, man, that's what's going on. Another person says, okay, I don't agree with the ridiculous sign that these men were holding. I feel that the sign would antagonize people. However, the reason why Charlie Kirk would go to universities to speak to the younger generation is because they are the future voters of America. And he was trying to make them aware of the truth about America, because you already know we weren't taught the truth in history or none of that bullshit. Do you think that they are teaching the truth in college? As someone who went to college, yes, sometimes, yeah.
I feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
But here's the thing. College is a place where you go to learn more about the world and also challenge your own worldview. Here's the thing that I think a lot of people on the right, because they tend to have this idea about college and, they dislike these colleges because these colleges are liberal bastions where, you send your kid to college and they come back and they're a social justice warrior and all these other things, right? Here's the thing. It's kind of hard to be racist against it's easy to be racist against a group of people that you have no interactions with. If your only interactions are with people who look like you, who think like you, who worship like you, and you've been taught to demonize all these other people, but you've never had any real interactions with them, it's kind of like it's easy to hate them. But then you go to college and suddenly you're surrounded by some of these people that you had once despised. And it's becoming harder for you to hate these folks because hell, man, I'm in class with this black guy and he seems to be pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, he, invited me to this study group to help us get this, to get past this group project. And, I mean, my dad always told me the niggas weren't shit, but I mean, he seems to be pretty cool. Or how about this lesbian couple who just invited me over to dinner because they knew that like my meal plan had run out of meals for the week, and they invited me over to their house, to eat and things like that. It's kind of hard to hate them when they're feeding you. Or how about this Muslim person whom I've been thought to believed in Sharia law and wanted everybody to believe what they believe, and really she's just trying to pass this motherfucking calculus class. It's kind of hard to hate these folks. And so what ends up happening with a lot of these conservative people, when they go to these colleges and universities, they get surrounded by different people and they're exposed to other experiences. And suddenly they're like, oh shit, everything I might have learned growing up might have been some bullshit. Right? Might have been some bullshit. So this is part of the reason why a lot of people on the right doesn't necessarily like their kids going to college, despite the fact that here's the other the trip out part. Many of those people that would tell you not to go to these colleges and that these colleges are liberal bashes and everything else, those very same people also went to college.
God damn!
And they went to some of the elite colleges. They will always talk about the liberal elite, but they also went to school with these supposed liberal elites. And they're also in the media alongside these liberal elites, but they will tell you, you don't want to go there. Nah, you don't want to go there. Despite the fact that they use those same fucking avenues to advance themselves, right? So the fact that this person is in my comment section talking about we weren't taught the truth in history or none of that bullshit. Do you think they're teaching the truth in college? As someone who went to college, yeah. But also, I have read some other books outside of college. I continuously read today. Reading for me hasn't stopped. Unfortunately, for a lot of y'all on that side, reading stopped the moment your ass get walked across the stage from high school. If you got that far and y'all stopped learning. That's been a problem in America. Many of the people on that side, they think that everything that they learn in high school is sufficient and they stop trying to learn anything else after that. Their learning stopped. They don't read any fucking more. This is why even now we're having discussions about whether or not, trans people should exist. And they're two sexes and all this elementary bullshit, these elementary ass discussions that we're having because they can't go beyond the shit that they did not learn. And they're not open to learning anything else, right? Let's see what else we got. Let's see. Christian Noggle 306 says, yo, this bro thought he ate. The algorithm is not what I thought it was. I lost a lot of brain cells watching this YouTuber. Man, I'm guessing you probably lost your brains, a lot more brain cells doing something else. But, we got that going on. He said, these are fully adults. Another person said, Sammy HD3FJ says these are fully adults and free speech. Even if they had a sign about the black slave trade, they are still allowed. I'd rather young adults talk to young adults about future issues than adults drag reading to kids. Now, again, I ain't seen no drag queens go out and like mass kill nobody. I have seen young white men go out here and do that shit. I have seen older white men go out here and do that shit. Shout out to Las Vegas. I have seen even the person that was killed that killed Charlie Kirk. That was a young white man going to that HBCU and to antagonize those black kids because black people are not engaging in a lot of the bullshit that y'all would normally want black people to engage in. And like, black people aren't out in the streets in the ways in which, the powers that be would have liked for black people to be out there. So now they're trying to bring the fight to us to provoke some shit, right? To provoke some shit. So yeah, man, it's a lot, man. It's a lot. Oh man, Dwayne's in the chat. He says, yes, MAGA is a virus on this country. I'm not talking to nobody who supported and voted for a 34-time convicted felon. And he also says, I guarantee you that Midnight Chocolate is a white person. I wouldn't doubt it, man. But the point that I'm making is this, man. Again, like even with the comments that were being made on these videos, like even one, there was this one thing where someone made they thought that they thought they were like educating me to a degree, right? The idea that Wait, hold on. Let me see if I can pull it up because there's more comments, I'm sure. Okay. Well, I can't find it now. That sucks. Can't find it now. But there was a comment that they made where they thought that I'm of one mind. I am in a bubble. I am in my bubble. I am in my liberal bubble. And the fact that he wants me to cite my sources of all the places where I get my news. Well, if I did that, I'd have 1,000 sources to give you because I pull from everywhere, including some of the conservative news sites. Anybody who's watched this show long enough knows that, right? I always tell you guys where I get my shit from, right? But they thought that, like, yo, the reason why there was so many people who were disagreeing with me in the comment section, and I have this thing, right? Like, there's this thing that people do, or there's this thought process that people have where consensus means correct, right? They believe that consensus means correct. That means if a lot of people believe a thing, therefore that thing must be true, right? And that's not always the case. Just because a lot of people believe a thing doesn't necessarily mean that thing has to be true. Sometimes the masses can be wrong, right? There was a time in this world where the mass of motherfuckers thought that the world was flat. Like, the world was flat. Do we still believe that today?
I'll be a monkey's bare-assed uncle.
We kind of clown the motherfuckers today that go around talking that the world is flat shit now, right? Because we have more knowledge about the world, how it works and everything else. So, science has evolved to a point to be able to tell us, hey, that thing you believed before, nah, we ain't on that no more. We on this because we got more information, right? And so because we were able to glean more information because of the scientific process, now we know the world ain't fucking flat. And so, but the world at one point thought that the world was flat, right? And so this person is conflating the idea that because there are more negative comments on this video, that somehow that means that I'm on the wrong side of shit. No, it just means that y'all don't agree with me. And that's fine. That's fine. Everybody's not going to agree with me. Hell, I don't agree with me on some shit I said about 10, 15 years ago, right? You're not going to agree with me on everything. Nobody will. But the idea that consensus means correct is a false one. And so I want to disabuse that person of that notion. But yeah, man, some of that listener feedback that I was getting this week from, so like I said, taking sections of the podcast and putting those up as their own individual YouTube videos, man, was garnering some attention. And so I felt like we needed to talk about that tonight, man, real talk. But let's see what else we got going on here tonight, man. Oh yeah, speaking of which, as we talked about, those Charlie Kirk motherfuckers showing up at TSU's campus. Apparently, Talking Points USA wants their black influencers to start showing up at TSU and other HBCUs across the South during homecoming.
Supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
I don't feel sorry for none of these motherfuckers when they get fucking-ignored. At least that's what I hope happens to them. But here we go. We get the story here. This comes out of Yahoo News, and it says Blexit, co-founded by Candace Owens, bills herself as the largest conservative minority grassroots movement in the country. Now, here's the thing. There's nothing grassroots about Talking Points, Turning Point USA, Candace Owens, none of that shit is grassroots. That shit is all funded by Coke money, by billionaire right-wing money. None of these motherfuckers just popped up out of the woodwork and just all of a sudden had a whole network going on. No, they are propped up by conservative billionaire money. There's nothing grassroots about them. It says homecoming season at 10 historically black colleges and universities is getting a little more interesting in 2025. Blexit, an organization founded by Candace Owens and former Tucson, Arizona police officer Brandon Tatum, currently powered by Turning Point USA, is taking a tour called Educate to Liberate to several prominent HBCU campuses throughout the month of October, according to their website. The mission on the tour is bringing conservative values to life, fostering critical thinking, and sparking powerful conversations on HBCU campuses. Now, here's the audacity of these motherfuckers. Y'all think that shit wasn't happening before y'all showed the fuck up? Y'all really think y'all bringing that to HBCUs?
Monkey's bare-assed uncle.
Yeah, y'all really think y'all bringing that to HBCUs? It says the tour will feature Blexit figures Stephen Davis, Anthony Watson, Topher, Savannah Craven, Craig Long, and the Blexit student movement team. Their stated goal is to challenge the status quo and champion empowerment, personal responsibility, and the American dream. And to that, I would just say,
we will not have it.
I said we will not have it. Oh.
Real talk, though, I really kind of wonder who these people are, because
bunch of fucking weirdos.
Well, like, who the fuck are these people? I've never even heard of half those people. I mean, none of those people, to be honest with you. Outside of Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum, I've never heard of these motherfuckers. It says, which HBCUs are the group bringing the tour to? Coinciding with each school's homecoming celebration in October, that would be Alabama State University on October 3rd, Jackson State University on October 10th, Tennessee State University, and Florida A&M on October 17th, North Carolina Central University on October 23rd, Howard University and Hampton University on October 24th, and Bowie State University and Lincoln University on October 31st. One event has already taken place or near Johnson C. Smith University on September 25th in Charlotte. There are no pictures from the event on social media, so it is unclear where the event took place and what type of crowd the event drew. Here's what I believe happened. They ignored the fuck out of them when they went to Johnson C. Smith. That's what I think happened. Because again, these people are showing up at these HBCUs to mine that shit for content. This is the reason why they asses showed up at Tennessee State last week. They were mining for content. If they can go there and create some sort of brouhaha, if they can go there and they can create some sort of moment that will cause them to go viral, trust and believe, if they had some footage of them, like, you know, getting the best of those HBCU students, or even if the students at Johnson C. Smith were acting as though they or I'm sorry, was that Johnson C. Smith? Yeah, that was Johnson C. Smith. If they were acting the same way that they did at my alma mater, trust and believe that shit would be all over social media. But what I believe happened is that those kids in that administration already knew they were coming, and so they straight ignored them. And because they ignored them, they didn't get any motherfucking footage that they can bring back to the world to post on social media to say, see, this is what we got. This is how we got treated at the black college. Right? So, like, ultimately, that's kind of what I want to happen at these other HBCUs. Ignore their asses. Walk right past their goofy asses. If not, or better yet, had a band playing and shit. I had like a little pep rally, like right in front of their motherfucking table. Right? Had a majorettes doing they shit. You know what I'm saying? Had a drum majors doing they shit. You know what I'm saying? Get the drum line in front of they shit. Drown them the fuck out. Have a party in front of these motherfuckers. But don't engage they goofy asses, because again, they aren't there for the education to liberate and all that other shit. No, we already getting that education to liberate at the HBCU. We don't need you motherfuckers here for that. We don't need y'all here for that. Y'all are here to antagonize. Y'all are here to be, flies in the milk, so to speak. We don't need y'all here. Y'all not welcome. Right? And y'all think that, the weirdest part about this is they thought that, like, yo, if we send some black people in there, maybe they'd be more palatable, and, they look crazy and everything else. But at the same time, like, do y'all not know? It's clear that y'all don't really know black people like that. Black people know when niggas is coon and then when they not, and they like, man, get this nigga out my face. Right? So yeah, man. That's what I believe happened. The reason why we ain't seen none of that footage is because they didn't get any. They got probably ignored the fuck out of when they got to Johnson C. Smith. It says, notably, when you attempt to purchase tickets, you are taken to a website that requires you to fill out a form allowing Blexit to contact you, as opposed to providing more information about where the events will take place or allowing you to actually purchase tickets. As you can imagine, the idea of a group of conservatives, even black ones, descending upon hallowed black yards during homecoming season was met with pushback, especially considering the group is powered by Turning Point USA, whose founder held and espoused racist and anti-black rhetoric. The founder of Blexit, Candace Owens, isn't exactly a non-controversial black public figure. Feminista Jones, a writer and community activist, shared the flyer for Blexit on her social media with the caption, "The old me would say organize, assemble a counter effort and shut them down. The new me says ignore them. Extinguish their fire with the cool breeze of silence. My young folks, my activists, my kin folks, do not engage, do not debate, do not try to have conversations. Let these people stare at venues with empty seats. That is your protest." The ensuing comments featured various levels of disgust and concern that this event would happen during such a celebratory time on HBCU campuses. Again, they're coming there to start shit. And, like I said, I echo the sentiments of Feminista Jones here. Ignore their asses. Lead them the fuck with, lead them where they at. They can't agitate. They can't agitate you if you don't let them agitate you. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, the fact that they're trying to do this shit during homecoming when everybody's coming, like you got the alumni coming back, to school and like to party and have a good time and reminisce, and maybe even like, their legacy is at the school and bond with their kids and their nephews and shit who are at the school and all that stuff, man. It's a big ass family reunion. And so y'all trying to come to this family reunion and disrupt. Nah, man, fuck y'all. Fuck y'all. So yeah, man, we got that going on. We got some comments here in the chat. My man, Dwayne says, I'm not talking to nobody who support. Oh yeah, you said that already. I'm my bad, bro. I can guarantee you that the midnight chocolate. Oh, damn, I read those too. But Jay Fool says the college coon tour TM. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Dwayne also says, I'm sick of these black conservatives who tell black folks to get off the Democratic plantation, pretending like the Republican Party isn't a damn plantation. Listen, not only that, they're being used as tokens right now, and tokens get spent. Right now, they're spending your black ass because, again, they understand that the message doesn't look right coming out of the face of a white person. So, hey, black friend, go over there and say this racist shit that I can't say to your black people so that no one can say we racist. Right? Like, that's the crazy shit about it, man. Dwayne also says the colleges are a soft target for these deplorables. But that's true. But again, I'm glad that we got heads up. So now that now the students there have they got the heads up that these motherfuckers are coming. Now you can come up with a plan for how to engage or not engage with these folks. Me personally, now I'll be like, yo, man, just let them sit there and look stupid by themselves. You know what I'm saying? You look real crazy arguing with yourself. Don't engage these people. In much the same way that I would tell you not to even engage with a lot of these motherfuckers on social media. Usually when they show up to disrupt and like kind of take the conversation off the rails. And then they get you talking about some shit that you weren't even talking about. And then they want you educate me on this. No, it's not my fucking job to educate you on nothing. You got the same fucking internet that I do. And if you wanted that information, you would search it out, but you don't. You want me to do that work for you. Fuck you. I'm not your teacher. And you got access to the same technology I do. I'm sure you're doing that shit from $1,000 iPhone, right? So yeah, man, we got that going on. But yeah, the HBCUs are going to be descended upon by black conservatives. Govern yourselves accordingly, man. Real talk. Now, another story that I kind of want to get at is we're going to talk a little bit about Conscious Lee some more, man. Like I said last week, I got some disagreements with brother Lee, man. I do. I got some disagreements with him, and like I said, I like this young brother. I do. But man, what are you on? What are you on right now, bro? So, he's been on this thing lately, bro. Where, here's what's happening. Here's what's happening. For those of you who may not have listened to episode 82 or you haven't had a chance to see it or listen to that, Kamala Harris is currently on a book tour for her new book, 107 Days, which chronicles her time as the Democratic nominee for president of the United States, right? And what's been happening is folks are showing up at her events, at her book signing events, and they're, disrupting. They are, they're heckling, they are shouting, they are yelling, and it's getting to a point where even Kamala Harris herself is starting to respond. And basically like, listen, I'm not the president, like you should be taking those complaints and those, those concerns to those who are in power, right? But for whatever reason, these people, they keep showing up. They keep showing up at Kamala Harris events. Now, like I said last week, I think it's to me, I feel like it's very performative. I feel like it's very performative for those folks to be showing up at Kamala Harris events, considering the fact that, again, Kamala Harris is no longer a United States political official. She has no official role in any, foreign policy whatsoever right now. She was never the final voice on United States foreign policy. The president of the United States, who was Joe Biden, he was the final voice on American foreign policy. And 3, they're not doing this shit at Donald Trump events, and they're not doing this shit at MAGA, events or anything else of that matter. They're only doing this shit at Kamala Harris Kamala Harris events, which is odd considering Kamala Harris doesn't have any power. Kamala Harris was never the final voice on American foreign policy, and yet she's the one seeing all of this pushback. Right now, Conscious Lee is of the mind that she would, that Kamala Harris is a part of the Biden administration. And so because of her being a part of the Biden administration, she should also be willing to take on, the criticisms of the Biden administration, and that those folks who are coming to her events are upset with the Biden administration's complicity quote unquote complicity in a genocide, right? So I'm going to pull this video up so you guys can watch right along with your mans. This is one of the videos I saw on Facebook earlier this week, but it just made me like just kind of like, man, damn. I kind of wish Brother Lee would get off of this, but he's not. He's not gonna get off of it. So let me see. I'm gonna have to pull this up here in a second. All right, and here we go. All right, I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can watch and check this out, y'all. Here we go. Let's listen to Brother Lee.
Telling me consciously you straight out the fence, you try to play both sides. No, you playing both sides. You have no consistency. You have no heart. You have no ethics and morals. I said, hey, I believe Democrats, nobody's above the law. Nobody above the law here domestically in America, nobody above the law internationally. Hey, the same way that Putin had all them goddamn warrants put out for his arrest by the International Court of Justice, Netanyahu had the same thing. So I think that Netanyahu not above the law and Trump not above the law. I also think this: if I'm advocating to stop fascism and fight fascism in America, I'm gonna oppose fascism in every corner of the world. I don't think that it is, as a matter of fact, double Dutch. Double Dutching is saying you're fighting fascism at home while you're helping fascism abroad in Israel. Fighting the line, threading the line, and playing double Dutch is lying to the American people, saying you're working tirelessly off the clock for a ceasefire when Biden staffers come out and said, actually, we never was going for a ceasefire.
Okay, that was a very important point you made right there, right? So in this particular, I asked the question. I said, what are the sources of those Biden staffers, the staffers who were making the comments that the Biden administration was not trying to go for a ceasefire, right? So one of the things I did was I started looking up. I Googled this shit, right? The first thing I did, I went to Google. I'm saying, yo, like, are Biden people not trying to get a ceasefire, right? And so matter of fact, let me do this here. I'm gonna Google it right here live on the show. Okay, let me do this here. There we go. All right, now I'm gonna show you guys what's showing up on my screen. Okay, show y'all what's showing up on my screen. Let me pull this one down, and then I'm gonna share this with you guys. Okay, this is what's showing up on my screen. All right, and I'm gonna maximize that so you guys can see this. All right, now we're not gonna even go over the AI overview, but I'm gonna just show you some of the links of the stories. Right. So first story comes up is a political story that says Biden team watches Gaza with mixed feelings. Another story comes up, Center for International Policy, the Biden administration's false history of ceasefire. Another story, Biden didn't really try to end the war in Gaza. This is from one source just called foreignpolicy.com. Another one, Middle East Monitor. Biden never pressured Israel for ceasefire as Israeli and as Israeli yada yada. Al Jazeera Q&A. Former Biden appointee says U.S. policy is, okay, let's just click that, is dehumanizing Palestinians. Okay. Al Jazeera talks to Tariq Habash about why he resigned from the Biden administration amid war in Gaza. Okay. So that's one story. And then let's see, let's go back. Let's go. Okay, come on. Oh shit. You went back too far. All right. Let's see. ProPublica, how the State Department let Israel get away with Gaza horrors. Biden staffers admit what we all knew. White House lied. Z Network. Now, I want you guys to understand something. Most of these, what you're seeing right now, is that a lot of these publications are publications you've never heard of that are promoting this talking point. Responsible statecraft. Biden worked tirelessly around the clock to prevent what was that supposed to be? To prevent a ceasefire. He worked tirelessly around the clock to prevent a ceasefire. I see another one. Former Biden campaign staffers call for Israel Hamas. Biden smirking State Department spokesman admits. So one of the things I did was I said, well, let me, because again, I'm all about sourcing. I've been doing this for a little while. I like to know, is this a good source? And even when I got a shaky source, when I'm talking to you guys about something here on the podcast, I was like, well, it's coming from such and such, so take from it what you will. You know what I'm saying? But I ain't sure about this one. I will say that here on the mic. So Conscious League was talking about staffers coming out saying that the Biden administration wasn't trying to get a ceasefire. Let's grant that to be true. Let's say that's true. Who's the final voice on that? Is it Kamala Harris or is it Joe Biden? And if it's Joe Biden, then why in the fuck are y'all attacking Kamala Harris, the black woman who didn't have the final say in any of this shit, and also didn't win the presidency, and she's not currently in charge of American foreign policy today? But y'all are very comfortable showing up at these book signings to cause trouble because it's comfortable and it's easy to do that. You're not worried about getting your head knocked off at a Kamala Harris event. Donald Trump will openly ask his fucking crowd to like knock your block off and not have any motherfucking compunction about it. So it's very easy for y'all to do that. But one of the things that I did was that in some of these instances and some of these sources, what I wanted to do was I wanted to find out what the sourcing was, like who owns these publications, what their leanings are, how credible they were. And so I went to this one website called MediaBiasFactCheck.com. Okay. And so on MediaBiasFactCheck.com, let me do this here. All right. So one of those sources that we pulled up during our Google search came up with this, and this is for the Center for International Policy. Okay, so this is a left-leaning publication, left of center, and they have a high probability of presenting factual news. Okay, so this is actually a pretty decent source. All right, it says these media sources have a slight to moderate liberal bias. They often publish factual information that utilizes loaded wording that attempts to influence an audience by appeals to emotion or stereotypes to favor liberal causes. These sources are generally trustworthy for information, but may require further investigation. Okay. Overall, we rate the Center for International Policy as left of center biased based on advocacy and editorial positions that align with the left. We also rate them high for factual reporting due to proper sourcing and a clean fact check record. Okay. So this one here, pretty legit. All right. Now let's see what exactly did the Center for International what was that? Well, shit. Damn it, Spann. The Center for International Policy. What exactly did they say about Biden and his want of a ceasefire in Gaza? What exactly did they say? It says the Biden administration's false history of a ceasefire, false history of ceasefire negotiations. Okay, so they're talking about whether or not Biden was working as tirelessly on the ceasefire the way that he said he was. Right. I'll leave the link in the show notes so you guys can read it along. So you guys can read along for yourselves. But all that being said, this particular source seems to be relatively legitimate. Right. Although they lean left, is a pretty legitimate site. They source they have good sourcing and they present factual information, good sourcing. Right. Another one that I looked up was let's see, Middle East Monitor. We saw the Middle East Monitor on here as well. And on the Middle East Monitor, we saw, hold on, let me pull this up. We saw a story about Biden the Biden administration not trying to do the ceasefire thing. And, they have a further left bias on their website. It says these sources were moderately to strongly biased towards liberal causes through story selection and or political affiliation. They may utilize strong loaded words, wording that attempts to influence an audience by using appeal to emotion or stereotypes. publishing misleading reports, and omit reporting of information that may damage liberal causes. Some sources of this category may be untrustworthy. Overall, we rate the Middle East Monitor left-based based on story selection that favors the left, and mixed for factual reporting due to the use of poor sources who are questionable at times. Okay, so now going back, what did the Middle East Monitor, what was their headline in regards to this? Because they came up in our search as well. It said Biden never pressured Israel for a ceasefire, as Israeli officials boast of exploiting U.S. support. Okay, so that's what we get from the Middle East Monitor. I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can see this headline again. I'll leave the link in the show notes so you guys can see that as well. Let me pull this one down so you guys can actually see the screen that I'm actually looking at right now. And this is it. Okay, this is from the Middle East Monitor, right? It's from them. Okay, so we got that. Now another source that we looked up, and this was from this is a site called Mondoweiss. Okay, I had never heard of Mondoweiss before, but they came up in this particular search. Now Mondoweiss is let me pull. Jesus Christ, they gave them a shitty fucking rating. But let me pull this down so you guys can see this other one. But all right, here we go. All right, but here's Mondoweiss. All right, now Mondoweiss is considered an extremely left-leaning publication. A questionable source exhibits one or more of the following: extreme bias, consistent promotion of propaganda, conspiracies, poor or no sourcing to credible information, a complete lack of transparency, or is fake news. Fake news is the deliberate attempt to publish hoaxes and or disinformation for the purpose of profit or influence. Sources listed in the questionable category may be very untrustworthy and should be fact-checked on a per article basis. Please note that sources on this list are not considered fake news unless specifically written in the reasoning section of that source. See all questionable sources. Overall, we rate Mondoweiss as left-based and questionable due to the blending of opinion with news, the promotion of pro-Palestinian and anti-Zionist propaganda, occasional reliance on poor sources, and hate group designations by third-party pro-Israel advocates. Okay, so the story that came up with Mondoweiss in the search that we had earlier today. Where is it? Okay, here we, hold on a second. No, they're not in this one. They came up in an earlier sort when I was on my tablet earlier today. They came up. Okay. And they're no longer here. That's wild. That's wild. That is crazy. All right. But those were one of the sources that came up. Okay. So we're going to get back to Brother Lee. Because again, Brother Lee is really about the idea. You know, he's even told us that the Biden administration wasn't trying to fight for the the ceasefire. And I asked for sources. I never got a response back to that question, but I'm sure at some point somebody maybe will tell me what sources that he's talking about, because I would hope it wouldn't be some of these that came up in my Google search, right? So, we go back to Brother Lee. Let me pull this down and let me get back to Brother Conscious here. And let's finish this video out. Whoops.
Harshly off the clock for a ceasefire when Biden staffers come out and said, actually, we never was going for a ceasefire. Israeli officials came out and said, actually, we never was going for a ceasefire. So for anybody to fix their lips and say, well, Conscious Lee's lying on Kamala Harris because she did push for a ceasefire. Yes. I acknowledge she pushed for a ceasefire during the election. That's the reason why I was able to say that she better than him, and also felt comfortable going to sleep that night and being able to say, hey, I used my platform for Kamala Harris, even though she's being paid by Israel, even though she's being paid $6 million, $5 million by AIPAC.
And she was doing all that during the campaign and still advocating for a ceasefire in Israel, in Gaza. She's getting this money and she's advocating for a ceasefire in Gaza during the campaign when the height of the attention was on her. Okay. I hated stocks and stuff.
that lobbies on behalf of Israel. Yeah, we don't get into it. We stick with this stuff. Stick with this though. So, in the same light, you're able to talk about international relations not mattering and how we got to focus on here first. That is called into question when you're able to try to highlight and sensationalize the way in which Kamala Harris said. I'm not negating that. She did say she was pushing for a ceasefire. She did say that. She did say that. She did say that. I'm not negating that. I want to be clear on that. I'm not negating that she was pushing for a ceasefire. I'm not negating it at all. What I am, you feel me, pulling into question, what I am highlighting is these sources right here. Biden staffers admit that the White House lied about his ceasefire efforts.
So he did what I just did for y'all right here just now. He went to Google and talked about, Biden ceasefire efforts. And now he's just reading off a list of headlines. He's reading off a list of headlines that he found on Google. Let's see if he goes further than that.
Israel sabotage ceasefire deals. The Biden administration's false history. These are the sources that is being mishandled or misrepresented. I'm not saying she was lying. These reports are saying that she's lying. I'm reporting y'all what the reports are saying.
And you know what? This is what was so disappointing, because I would have expected someone like Conscious Lee to look further than just that cursory fucking Google, that Google search. And apparently he didn't do that. He read to you some Google searches and the headlines from the Google searches. Didn't go into finding out, hey, who is this publication? What is the bias of this publication? Who owns this publication? Are they a credible publication? He didn't do that. And he's on this thing about, what's the word that I'm looking for? Justifying why people are still coming at Kamala Harris about what's going on in Gaza, which is, again, to me, is still odd, considering that, Kamala Harris isn't in office anymore. She has no power whatsoever. The man that y'all really need to be leaning into is Donald Trump, and y'all don't see y'all doing a motherfucking thing. I can hear mice pissing on cotton when y'all talking about Donald Trump. But it's safe for y'all to be going over there fucking with this black woman while she's out here trying to sell this book about her unprecedented run for president in 107 days as a first woman of color to be the presidential nominee of the Democratic Party. And yet y'all want to hold her accountable. We got to hold her accountable. What about the motherfucker who is in charge right now? Where's his accountability? This is why I'm so disappointed in this brother, man. It's like, come on, man. Really? You got to show me more than this, man. You got to show me more than this. And yes, I'm one of those folks who will say, yeah, we got to be better. We got to be right at home before we can be over there fixing anybody else's shit. How can I help you if I'm over here fucked up? I said this last week, the last time I was on this mic. How can I help you if I'm over here fucked up? I'm fucked up. My leg broke. I can't get to you as fast as I want to. And so here we are in this time with Donald Trump as president, where he's sending National Guards to the cities and states in which did not support or vote for him. He's concocting criminal charges against political opponents. And here's what's wild is that, like, they keep saying, well, it's tit for tat. They came after him, so he's going after them. Like, it's not like they didn't have fucking reason to go after him. It's not like we didn't watch what happened on January 6th. It's not like we didn't listen to this motherfucker call them people down in Georgia and ask them to find him 11,780 votes so that he can flip Georgia to his column and win that goddamn election. It's not as if we didn't hear that shit. These charges that were given to Donald Trump, we all watched this motherfucker do it in plain sight. But y'all are acting now that like he's in power. The weirdest part of it, we let this motherfucker get back in power in the first place. But now that he's back in power, this is just part of the game. We're acting as though this shit is normal, and it's not. It's not fucking normal. So, again, with this brother, I'm disappointed in this brother because it's like, come on, man. I would expect someone like you to know better. I really would. Like I said, I do like this young brother. I know I got some friends that be like, nah, he a op. You know, no, I think he's a conscientious brother. I think he thinks about the shit that he says. I just think right now he's wrong. Man. And sometimes it's hard for us to admit that, damn, I might have fucked up. Sometimes players fuck up. Right now, he's in that dug in place where he's not prepared to or willing to admit that, man, I might be a little wrong on this one. And that's a disappointing thing, man. Like, some of these, like I said, when the uncommitted movement showed up last year, I'm like, listen, for the primary, fine, get the attention on your cause that you need. But let's understand something here. We can't afford for there to be another Donald Trump presidency, and yet and still, them people did not take heed, and now their people are being blown to bits even more. And now we're facing, untoward assaults on our civil liberties and our rights here right at the crib. And everybody's just acting like this shit is just par for the fucking course. And I don't understand it. I just don't fucking understand it. But yeah, man, we got that going on. Consciously, man, do better, brother. Do better, brother. I'm rooting for you to do better. But right now, what the fuck? Real talk. So we got that going on, man. Now, another thing we got going on, man. The podcast bros, man. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like the idea of men having, access to the podcast equipment, man. They're like, yo, man, ban male podcasts, man. These male podcasts need to shut the fuck up. We tired of hearing these men talk. These men need to do more like listening and less talking and all this other shit. And as male podcasters, man, I be like, damn, man, but some of us are kind of dope. Right? I mean, I be trying to speak for myself, and I understand, like, even my listening audience, man. I looked over my analytics, man. Most of the people who listen to me are dudes. I got, like, as a matter of fact, I think it breaks down 60-30. I got about a 30% listenership when it comes to women. And most of my audience kind of skews a little bit older. People from 25 to like 60 are the ones that's listening to your boy. The young folks ain't really fucking with your mans like that. And that's cool. You know what I'm saying? That's cool. Because I'm talking about some shit that they ain't concerned about right now. And that's fine. Right? But the podcast bros I'm talking about are the white podcast bros, like the mega podcasters, the Theo Vaughns of the world, the Andrew Schultzes of the world, the Joe Rogans of the world, the Aiden Rosses of the world. These motherfuckers who helped normalize Donald Trump are now suddenly trying to come back to the world and say, hey, about that Donald Trump thing, I really didn't know what we were getting into. And the rest of the world is looking at these niggas like this.
Take a big step back and literally fuck your own face.
That's what they're saying to him. So, nah, man, I'm gonna pull up a couple different instances of some of these guys of trying to like kind of take a step back from that. But before I do that, we do have an article. I want to say this is from Rolling Stone. And it says the Manosphere influencers. No, I do not want to allow ads. Thank you. Manosphere influencers who boosted Trump are now cooling on him. Creators like Theo Vaughn and Aiden Ross are starting to distance themselves from the president they helped propel to the White House. And let's see. Read a little bit from this article here. It says Manosphere podcasters didn't win Donald Trump the presidency in 2024's election cycle, but they went a long way to solidifying the president's support among large swaths of the young men who follow them. Now, 9 months into the implementation of the president's agenda, the same ultra-popular podcasters and streamers who lent their audiences to the president in 2024 are scrambling to break with his government. I really wish I never got into politics, kick streamer Aiden Ross recently told his audience. I just don't think I'll ever care enough again for another politician. Now, we do have video of Aiden Ross saying this. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the video up so you guys can watch him with this bullshit. But let me do this here. Let me go ahead and share my screen again so you guys can see. And we're gonna watch Aiden Ross talk this bullshit about him wishing he had never got in bed with Donald Trump. All right, so check this out.
Obviously, it's like, you know, I just
Let me refresh that. There we go.
Someone in my team. Can I tell you guys something? Now that I look back on it, I really, really wish I never got into like politics. And I feel like that's a cool thing to like talk about. Obviously, it's like, you know, I just kind of like, I know y'all didn't like that era at all, except for the Trump like stream. Obviously, at the end of the day, it was the president.
This man said era. This man said era, bro. It was just last year. It was just last year. It's not a fucking era. Like, that's another thing too. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe it's a product of when we grow up or something like that. And maybe it's just like the way in which social media is kind of like, you know, formed our brains to some degree. But like, have you ever noticed how grandiose a lot of young folks talk about just things, right? Like things like this motherfucker said era. It was a couple months during the summer last year. He said era. Or like how they talk about your aura. You know, like he's got this aura about him. Like, come on, or Riz, you know, like can't even say charisma no more. Is Riz. Like this grandiose sort of main character thing that a lot of young folks have on social media. And I know it's like, especially if you're a young person and you have access to all these millions and thousands of people. Yeah, you think in grandiose terms, but like just the idea that you would call a couple months from last year an era, something about that just made me chuckle, man. I don't know why.
Like, but like now that I look back at it, it's like, damn, like so many people just tie me to it, and now it's just like, fuck, like no matter what, they don't even get to know who I am because they don't like even want to. Oh, you did this shit with Trump, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I really, really understand other people's side, and as I'm getting older, I'm just like seeing like I just don't think I'll ever care enough again for any other politician ever in the future. Just because.
Okay, here's the other part, right? So he's talking about, you know, now when people see him, they associate him with his with his promotion of Donald Trump, and he doesn't like that. Now that, you know, like folks aren't getting to know him. It's like, hey man, I think this is a lesson for him to learn that you can't be siding up with someone who openly violates people's rights and openly talks about demonizing his opposition in a way that dehumanizes them, and also seeks to disrupt not only just like our American way of life, but also just to really just conform the United States government around his personal whims, right? For those of us old enough to know a little bit and who read enough, like, yo, like this motherfucker, like he's checking all the boxes of a motherfucker wannabe dictator. And ironically enough, many of the things that he's doing right now, he said he wanted to do when he was running. And many of y'all was like, oh, nah, you know, you guys are taking him way too seriously, man. Sometimes he's just talking, man. He's just trolling. No, he's not. No, he's not. He was never trolling. They were passing out mass deportation signs at Trump rallies last year. And now we got ICE showing up in places where, like, they're not looking for the criminals. They're just looking for brown folk. They showing up at they showing up while parents are picking up their kids from school and yanking their asses up out of their cars while they picking up their kids from school. They showing up at the Home Depot fucking with the day workers. They told y'all they was going after the worst of the worst. Nah, they was going after the brown folks. And I already told y'all, for anybody who's listened to me long enough to know, I already told y'all this is about them trying to come back off of the idea of America becoming a majority minority nation. Getting the brown folks out will reverse that. They're trying to reverse that. But also, what Donald Trump was trying to suspend the 14th Amendment to the Constitution and get rid of birthright citizenship, that doesn't just involve brown people. That involves our black asses too, because that 14th Amendment is what gave our black asses citizenship here in America. We weren't citizens until the 14th Amendment to the Constitution. So, you know, like this idea of this young guy, you know, now he's associated with Trump People associate him with Trump, and he's not knocking the negative feedback. Now he wants to pull back. But you are a part of this. History is not going to remember you kindly about that. You know what? I take that back. If we win, history is written by the victor. If we win, history will not be kind to you. If we lose, he's a fucking hero. He's a fucking hero. Let's see. Let me go back to this article though, from Rolling Stone. He says Ross has been repeatedly banned from streaming platforms over his use of hateful slurs. He interviewed Trump in August. Okay, hold on, damn it. Let me take that down. He interviewed Trump in August of 2024 at the president's Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach. The streamer encouraged his viewers to vote for the candidate and even gifted Trump a custom Tesla Cybertruck and a Rolex watch. This motherfucker gave him a Tesla and a Rolex? And now he's upset that people are upset with him for being a... Come the fuck on, man.
Niggas.
Because that's some nigga shit. That's some ignorant nigga shit. But also...
Supposed to feel sorry for that bitch. I don't.
It said the two bashed members of the traditional press who had grilled Trump's campaign promises and public statements in past interviews and gushed over each other. Trump's interview with Ross was perhaps the most overtly sycophantic of the interactions the president had with bro-oriented content creators over the course of the campaign. But it was no anomaly. Now figures like Joe Rogan, Andrew Schultz, and Theo Vaughn, who all provided friendly, non-confrontational spaces for the president's campaign agenda, are like Ross, retreating from the MAGA movement. Comedian Vaughn, host of the This Past Weekend podcast, interviewed Trump the same month as Ross. Trump asked Vaughn about his cocaine use. That's dirty, and that's down and dirty, isn't it? Vaughn asked Trump what he liked the most about each of his sons. Vaughn would later attend Trump's inauguration. You can forgive the Trump administration for believing they were on friendly terms when the Department of Homeland Security used a clip of Vaughn saying in his telling as an out of context joke. Heard you got deported, dude. Bye, in a social media video. Vaughn was not happy. Okay, so let's talk. Let's pull up the video of Theo Vaughn being upset with the Trump administration for using him in some of their rhetoric. Let me see. Do I have the video? Yeah, I got the video. Check this out. Give me a second here while I pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Here we go. Here's Theo Vaughn being upset with the Trump administration about them using him in that video about deportation. Check this out, y'all.
Father immigrated here from Nicaragua, right? Like one of my prized possessions is I have his immigration papers when he came here. And I have them in a frame, and him and his siblings when they came here. And so I have tons of thoughts about it, but this was just fucked up, right? It was fucked up. My father immigrated here from Nicaragua, right? Like one of my prized possessions is I have his immigration papers when he came here. And I have them in a frame, and him and his siblings when they came here. And so I have tons of thoughts about it, but this was just fucked up, right? It was fucked up. My father.
All right. Now, this is another thing that annoys a lot of us about the right and many of the people who come to have their come to Jesus moment about the right, is that oftentimes they only really care when it affects them personally. Until it affects them personally, they don't really give a shit. We saw this with a lot of Trump supporters when it came to, especially Trump supporters who were government workers who ended up losing their jobs because of Doge. We saw this when it came to a lot of the farmers right now who are upset that Trump bailed out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion in like the soybean farmers. Trump gave the Argentina $20 billion to prop up their soybean market, and China ends up, instead of buying their soybeans from America, they're buying their soybeans from Argentina. And meanwhile, the farmers here are like, what the fuck? Where are we supposed to sell our soybeans now? We saw this with Meghan McCain. I remember when Meghan McCain was on The View, and she had her baby, and she had maternity leave and things of that nature. She was not a proponent of maternity leave until she had to use maternity leave to be away from the job to take care of her child. And suddenly she became a proponent of maternity leave. It's not until it touches them that they feel like these are worthwhile programs to pursue. It's not until those programs negatively affect them that then they suddenly see the fucking light. Meanwhile, you got us over on this side like, yo, that's going to really be fucked up. That's going to really be fucked up. And then they're like, oh, you fucking bleeding heart liberal. And then suddenly they have to, they got to use these, you know, like they got to use some of these programs. Suddenly you're in a position where like a lot of these, there was, you know, Republican politicians who will openly tell you that they're pro-life and they're against abortion, but then they got a mistress who get fucked around and got pregnant. And guess what? Hey, we got to get rid of this baby. And they facilitate that. It is the fucking hypocrisy of it all. So yeah, Theo Vaughn, suddenly you are being used by this administration to talk to promote mass deportations and to get these people up out of here. Meanwhile, you are the son of an immigrant. Here you are giving a friendly platform to someone who talks about immigrants poorly all the time, despite the fact that his grandfather was a fucking immigrant, he's married to an immigrant, and we supposed to just like forget all of that shit. It's like the jokes write them fucking selves, man. They write themselves. Now we're gonna get back to this article from the Rolling Stone. In a social media post responding to DHS. I'm sorry, let me take that down. Which was later deleted. Vaughn wrote that he didn't approve to be used in this. I know you may address, I know you know my address, so send a check and please take this down and please keep me out of your banger deportation videos. The administration's authoritarian approach to immigration enforcement has become a point of contention for other content creators considered reliable MAGA liaisons just months ago. Earlier this year, Joe Rogan slammed the Trump administration's deportation of hundreds of Venezuelan men, the majority of which had no criminal record. Now remember, they told y'all they was going after the people who had the worst. They were the worst of the worst. That's not what they're doing. The majority of which had no criminal record, to the notorious CCOP prison in El Salvador for indefinite detention without due process. This is kind of crazy that this could be possible, Joe Rogan said in March. The cause is let's get the gang members out. Everybody agrees. But let's not let innocent gay hairdressers get lumped in with the gangs. Over the summer, Rogan criticized ISIS tactics and immigration raids as insane. These two things are insane, Rogan said in July. One is the target of migrant workers, not cartel members, not gang members, not drug dealers, just construction workers showing up at construction sites, raiding them, gardeners. Like, really? Let's go to the video and see Joe Rogan talking shit about the shit that ICE is doing, because we got video of this shit too. All right, so let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann, because of course. All right, let me do this here. Bam. Bam. Let's see what Joe Rogan has to say.
Looks is horrific. It when you're just arresting people in front of their kids and just normal, regular people that have been here for 20 years. Yeah. That everybody who has a heart can't get along with that.
No.
Everybody who has a heart sees that and goes, that can't be right. That can't be right. That can't be the only way to do this.
Right.
Because you have to think, look, yeah, we have to have a border. Yes, it should have been secure. Yes, they should make sure you know who everybody is before they get in.
Yep.
But when people have been here for 20 years, like, come on, man. That's crazy. Like,
yeah.
Let's find a way. If they've been productive members of society for 20 years, no criminal record, they worked the entire time, they paid taxes, find them a pathway to citizenship. Fuck the immigration thing.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There was a choice in that election. One of them was talking about a pathway to citizenship for these folks, and you decided to vote against that. Not only did you decide to vote against that, you used your platform to not only platform Donald Trump and have him on your show, but then you didn't further endorse Donald Trump afterwards for president of the United States. So everything that you're saying right now rings hollow, because the alternative was someone who advocated for everything that you just said you would have wanted. Everything that you said you would have wanted. But that's not what you voted for, and that's not what you endorsed. So again, like when the people talk about they want the male the Manosphere podcast to go away. They want the male podcast to be banished. I understand who the fuck they talking to and who the fuck they talking about. Because it's this type of shit right here. Hell, even some of these, the intro to this show says like, hey, man, people telling y'all you need to get rid of the podcast equipment. And like, quite frankly, sometimes I agree. Because of shit like this. It could not have been more blatantly obvious to so many of us. But these podcasts, these dude bros, let's be clear, these white guys with podcast mics who were not being directly affected by a lot of this shit. Now suddenly, public sentiment is starting to shift on this, and they don't want to be seen as a part of that. And so because public sentiment is starting to shift, now we're starting to hear the grumblings and they're like, this ain't what I voted for. I wanted them to do this, that, and the other. Like, we wanted a secure border and all these other things and yada, yada, yada. And like, yeah, you could have had all of that shit. You could have voted for Kamala Harris too, but you didn't. And you advocated for this motherfucker whom you saw had been president before and whom you saw how he acted the first fucking time. And despite all of that, y'all decided, hey, let's do this again. Let's go for another round. You goofy motherfuckers, you. Right? But he's not the only one. Joe Rogan isn't the only one. Let me get back to this Rolling Stone article here. Let's see. I voted for none of this. Wait, I'm sorry. I gotta scroll back up. Okay, Rogan's statement touched on a dissonance that was made explicit by comedian and Flagrant podcast host Andrew Schultz, who once stated that in his 2024 vote for Trump was based on who gets the most. Hold on a second. Andrew Schultz, who once stated that his 2024 vote for Trump was based on who gets the most pussy.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Yeah, he said that. I voted for none of this, Schultz declared in July. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. So let's go ahead, pull up the video of Schultz proclaiming that this isn't what he voted for. Let me go ahead and pull this up. We get this one from Fox News. Fox News had a whole segment about this shit. So let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. I'm gonna pull this here down, and we're gonna pull up the Fox News the Fox News version of what he said. Okay, because again, I use all of these content creators, right? I use all of the spectrum, and we getting this from Fox News. Y'all know I ain't no fucking fan of Fox News, but let's see. Share. Add the scene. Okay. I'm not allowing no ads on Facebook. Let's go ahead and refresh that. No, man. All right, fuck it. I'll do it this one time. Only because I want to watch
to that point. Like there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this.
Wait a second. Allow ads. Where is my ad blocker? Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. Let's refresh. So it's not like I plan on being on the site a lot anyway. So there we go. But check this out, y'all. Oh, fuck. They got ads in the video. Ain't this a bitch? We're going to wait till this bullshit ad goes away. For those of you who are watching, y'all know what it is. But for those of you who are just going to be listening to this, yeah, man, they're not getting no shine on my dime. Fuck them. I just want to be able to skip. Can I skip the ad, though? They're not going to let me skip the ad. All right. But here we go. Here's the video. Whoop, audio. I'm sorry.
You voted for this. I'm like, to that point, like there'll be people that they'll DM me and be like, you see what your boy's doing? You voted for this. I'm like, I voted for none of this. He's doing the exact opposite of everything I voted for. Yeah. I want him to stop the wars. He's funding them. I want him to shrink spending, reduce the budget. He's increasing it. It's like everything that he said he's going to do, except sending immigrants back. And now he's even flip-flopped on that, which I kind of like. But he's like, oh, well, we kind of need the people working in restaurants and we need our...
That's bullshit. That's bullshit, though. He hasn't reversed on that. He like, again, anybody who understood reality, who understood truth, who understood what was real, you understood that the only reason that Donald Trump was running for president of the United States in 2024 was to prevent him going to jail. That was why he ran for president in 2024. It was why he announced his presidency, his presidential candidacy so early. He announced early as fuck so that anytime any sort of criminal any of the criminal investigations that were being launched into Donald Trump, he could dismiss them as being political, right? They're just trying to muddy the waters against a political opponent. This is exactly why he did what he did. He ran early as fuck. He was the first fucking presidential nominee of 2024. Why? Because he knew he was a criminal, and he was going to be indicted, and he was going to be tried, and he was going to be convicted. He was already convicted before he became president again. He got convicted on falsifying documents, but he was also going to be convicted on withholding classified information that he shouldn't have had. He was also going to be convicted because it was on fucking tape of him trying to get the Secretary of State in Georgia to overturn the results of the last election, not to mention the January 6th shit. The reason why he became a candidate so early was so that he could dismiss every criminal investigation into him as a purely political witch hunt. And for the dummies amongst us, for the MAGA amongst us, that shit worked. For those of us who are a little bit smarter, who saw the fucking play from a long ways away, we're looking at this shit like, man, I hope the system don't let him do this shit. And unfortunately, the system failed us all and allowed this motherfucker to get away with it. Too many people fell for this shit. Unfortunately for us, a lot of these white male podcasters fell for this shit. Hook, line, and sinker. They suddenly forgot everything that happened during his first presidency. They suddenly forgot COVID. They suddenly forgot Colin Kaepernick. They suddenly forgot Black Lives Matter. And everything that happened with that. And now, as a matter of fact, they usually, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter, what they try to do now is they try to use a false equivalence. Black people taken to the streets because of a young black person being gunned down by either police authorities or white people who just thought that they had police authorities. They use that and say, well, shit, because Black Lives Matter did this, well, we can run up on the fucking Capitol. Nigga, what? Nigga, what? Suddenly, white people forgot that they were supposed to be pro-law enforcement. They was out there whooping police ass that day. They out here taking the flag and attacking the cops. They out here tasing cops on the back of the neck. They forgot they was supposed to be Blue Lives Matter. They forgot all of that shit. Right? So, yeah, man, I know a lot of these white MAGA podcasters would like to distance themselves from the shit that they put us in the middle of, but unfortunately, nah, you got to eat that. And if we win, you will not be recognized fondly in the annals of history. But if Donald Trump is successful in turning the United States of America into a dictatorship, then maybe y'all asses will be rewarded. So while y'all out here trying to disassociate yourselves from him, I mean, hell, it might be in y'all better interest to just kind of lean into y'all shit because y'all see how he goes after his enemies, right? So we got that going on. We got a comment here down in the chat. Adam is in the comments, and he says these shithead influencers like Rogan and Theo and Ross are like the Wind Sox though. Can't trust them. They flip on you in a millisecond. Hey, honestly, man, like the fact that any of them were taken seriously, I think is an indictment on first things first. I think it's an indictment on mainstream media. For one, and a lot of our news sources, the fact that people are no longer trusting their mainstream news sources, and they're going to places like this to get their political information. I think that's problematic, to say the least. I mean, and on top of that, because of the ways in which our consumption has changed, a lot of folks aren't going to CBS and like CBS, NBC, ABC. And even like if you want to include Fox, a lot of folks just aren't getting their news from these guys. They're getting their news from outlets like TikTok and outlets like Facebook and outlets like Threads and outlets like Twitter. Like people are getting their news and they're consuming it in different ways. You just gotta kind of have to wonder like how vigilant is the sourcing, how vigilant is the reporting, and because we're being fed by algorithms so much, how much of it is just like we've just being fed more and more of what we believe in, and that's it. And people just like they just go with that, right? Like, we're losing the time where we're losing what it was like when we were growing up. Right. I remember growing up as a kid and watching the CBS evening news or the NBC evening news, or going to bed at night in the 10 o'clock news and the 11 o'clock news and reading the Detroit Free Press and news right on Sundays and shit. Like I grew up doing that type of thing. Like my daughter doesn't know what it is to like in the morning grab a newspaper and just read that bitch. She doesn't do that. And I'm sure a lot of her peers don't either. When it comes to the news, I think a lot of times these kids are checked out. Not all of them, but a lot of them are checked out. But not just the kids. Some of us, too, are checked out. I can't tell you how many people that I know in our age range who are just like, I don't watch the news anymore because it's sad. It doesn't do anything but make me upset and this, that, and other. And I just hope that they're being informed by reputable places now. When I hear people say that shit, I just hope that they're being informed by reputable places. But when I hear people say that they don't watch the news, I'm like, man, well, how the fuck do you know what's going on? Because again, an uninformed populace is a malleable populace, and they're willing to go any way you can mold them into how you want them to go. It's the informed people that are the problem. We are the problem. So yeah, man, got that going on. Let's see another one here. What's another story I want to? Oh yeah, I did want to kind of tackle this here, man. So I saw this video on YouTube, and I kind of wanted to speak to it because it goes back into something we talked about last week in regards to the raid that happened in let me pull this down. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still watching Andrew Schultz and shit. But it had something to do with the raid that was happening in Chicago that we talked about earlier. I saw this video. It showed up on a channel on YouTube called Comedy Hype, which to some small degree, I'm not a real big fan of. I'm just not. But every now and again, they'll have a story that I'm interested in. Okay. And so on Comedy Hype, they were talking about how Black Chicago was reacting to the raid that happened in South Shore, right? And the way in which Comedy Hype is promoting this story, it actually had it would have left you with the impression. It would have left you with the impression that I'm sorry, hold on a second. It would have left you with the impression that a lot of people in the South Side of Chicago were in support of what happened in that raid, right? So I wanted to pull this video up so you guys can watch along with me and see how this was being reported by, Comedy Hype or whatever. So let me go ahead and show you guys this here, and we're gonna kind of dissect some shit. All right. So let's see what they're talking about here with Comedy Hype and what happened in Chicago.
Reporting live from Hyper's Club in Atlanta for Hype Plus News, I'm John Alba.
Stop letting media put that false narrative in your head that somebody coming for you, because they not. You was born here. You was born on this land.
A few days ago, we reported on ICE agents swooping in on an apartment complex located in South Shore, Chicago. According to reports, the raid would focus on Venezuelan gang members and illegal immigrants who lived in the apartment. Now, what will also be reported is that Black American citizens and children would be detained in the middle of the night, a part of the raid. Now, this has caused concerns across the internet and other media outlets following the story. Now, when it comes specifically to Black Americans being detained during this raid, fellow Black online users were going to express their fears of being ICE's next target. Across social media and sites like TikTok, several would react to the news of Black people being held for hours by ICE agents.
Yeah, and I was one of those folks. For those of you who haven't listened, listen to episode 82 of the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. We talked about this last week.
Y'all know what's next, right? There's going to be white American citizens who are asking Black American citizens for their papers, for their proof of citizenship. I wish I was being hyperbolic. I wish I was joking, but this is exactly where we're going. We're going to a place where a white boy feels he has permission, not feels he has permission, will actually have permission from the federal government to ask you for your papers. I keep saying that immigrant issues are Black people's issue, and y'all keep pushing back, but I don't think y'all are hearing me or understand what I'm saying. I'm saying is they're going to use ICE to eventually harass us the way that they're harassing immigrant communities, not only ICE, but every federal agent, right? And we got to a point where you don't even have to be like a trained federal agent. They're literally just giving any white boy who wants to harass immigrants a job. But they're going to take it a step further, and they're going to give people permission to ask for other people's proof of residency.
Here's the other part I think is it hasn't been examined enough. When it came, like, ICE is like aggressively recruiting for new officers to join their ranks, right? And what we're seeing is we've seen some very, very out of shape ICE agents, like going after alleged illegal immigrants and what have you. We're seeing a lot of them show up in places in unmarked vehicles in tactical gear, with their faces, obscured with like face masks or balaclavas or whatever. And they don't feel the need to identify themselves. They don't feel the need to state whether or not they have a warrant or not. Honestly, we're dealing. I want to know how many of the people who are now ICE agents were also present at January 6th and a part of that mob who were pardoned. I want to know, like, how many of those people are now ICE agents. I want to know how many of those people who are now ICE agents or just like regular Joes who said, fuck it, I'm going to take up the cause and get these Mexicans about my country, because this is my country, despite the fact that they may be living in a place that used to be Mexico, like Texas, like New Mexico, like Arizona, like California, like Utah, like Wyoming, those places. And on top of that, because they're being sent to areas like Chicago, like these are places, especially like the Texas National Guard being sent to Chicago, like you've been inundated with news or talking points all your life about how bad Chicago is. And then you go to Chicago and now you have to deal with the people there. And like, you're looking at them not as fellow American citizens, but you're looking at them as like, these are our people that need to be occupied, right? I wonder just how much of the people who are now ICE agents were also people who came against this government during January 6th, and also who are just hyper agitated and activated right-wing nuts, to be frank, right?
Now, surprisingly, despite the concerns that some felt about ICE targeting blacks in Chicago, some Black Chicago residents are pushing back on these rumors, even thanking Trump and ICE's actions to clean up their neighborhood.
At this point, y'all have really pissed me off, especially you so-called influencers who are taking parts of stories coming out of Chicago and using it for fucking clickbait and engagement. Now, I have been urging my people here to pause so that they can process things. Y'all talking about them coming down on that building out south. Whole time, that building used to be predominantly black. That building was predominantly Venezuelans, okay? There are people from that neighborhood that have been complaining about that building for a year.
Okay. Let's say that's true. Let's say that that building was no longer predominantly black and that building was predominantly Venezuelans. Why were there so many black people detained unlawfully while they allegedly were looking for Venezuelan gang members? Ask yourself that question. Because again, there were black people who had their Fourth Amendment rights violated. Your Fourth Amendment rights prevents you from being, or prevents, or is supposed to prevent your home from being searched. You're supposed to be immune from illegal search and seizure, for you to be detained against, not even so much detained against your will, but detained for the actions of someone else. You allegedly looking for a criminal. I don't fit that description. The person you looking for ain't even fucking here. But somehow, some way, for hours, I am detained. I am separated from my children. My children are zip tied and brought out into the cold in the middle of the fucking night. Right? And like I said last time we was on this mic, because there was reports that the owner of the building said that his building had been overtaken by these folks. Does he not know whom his tenants are? How do you not know who your tenants are? And if you know who your tenants are, then why were their apartments not exempt from them being snatched up out of their fucking beds in the middle of the night by ICE? If you know who your tenants are. Or do you know who your tenants are? And if you don't, that's a whole other motherfucking question that we need to be asking. Right? Think about that.
Okay, they showed y'all broken windows and shit that were already there. These are the things that y'all have to stop doing. And this is why I keep telling people here in the city, particularly black people, pause so you can process. If y'all start responding to shit out of emotion, then you don't know what the fucking play is, because you haven't had time to actually think. What people are doing are trying to get a rise out of black Chicagoans. Okay, that was one incident. Then you had the guy out west that had the accident, and they pulled him out, and one of the agents was choking him, and people were recording it. Okay, so again, follow-ups to all of these things, never. Nobody ever comes back with the follow-up. They talking about, oh, they're arresting black people in Chicago. All of the black people that they took from that building on the south side were released.
Okay. So she says all those black people were released. Guess what? They should have never been in motherfucking custody to begin with. That's the fucking issue. That's the issue. They should have never been in fucking custody to begin with. This is the part that these stupid motherfuckers are missing. They should have never been in custody. Y'all think y'all own some shit. Y'all are not on some shit. They black asses should have never been in fucking custody. Ever. About some immigration shit. You're born here. You in your apartment, sleeping, getting ready to go to work, going to school tomorrow as a citizen. And some motherfucker from Alabama or Tennessee or Florida who has issues with all of you motherfuckers with faces of color got his gun in your face saying, you coming with me. And bring your ass outside, zip ties you, push you in the van, zip ties your kids, put them in another motherfucking van. While they figure out, hey, we want the Venezuelans though. That's not how that's supposed to work. Y'all are openly advocating for your own rights to be violated, and I will never fucking understand it. I will never fucking understand it. She thought she was cooking. She not cooking. Not at all.
37 people that they detained were all Venezuelans who were part of a particular gang. Y'all got to stop doing that shit.
Chicago.
But here's the thing, right? She says 37 people that they arrested. There were over 130 some odd people who were brought out of that motherfucking apartment complex. Mass majority of them being black. While you talking about them being like they looking for Venezuelan gang members, yada yada yada, they arrested 37 people. They brought over 100 motherfuckers out of that apartment building, and they detained over 100 motherfuckers out of the apartment building. And many of those people that they detained were black people who were citizens of Chicago. Fuck out of here, man.
You need to stop lying and saying, and people on this internet need to stop lying and saying that they're coming for black people. Yes, there was a building in a black community that was not majority black because it had been overran by illegal gang bangers. Let's be clear.
Understand again, and we talked about this the last time I was on this mic. Y'all really believe as violent as they say Chicago gang members are, they allow for some foreign gang to come over and take over a building in the south side of Chicago? And if you believe that, then I got a motherfucking bridge in Brooklyn to sell you. And I'm not even from Brooklyn. I ain't even seen the Brooklyn Bridge in person. Right? But I will sell you that bitch if you believe that.
So why everybody want to keep throwing that narrative around half of South Shore is fucking invaded by illegals? That's the...
Now here's the other part. And this is something I was talking about last year, right? She's saying half of South Shore is being invaded by illegals, right? How did illegals, quote unquote illegals, make themselves, how did they get to Chicago? How did they get there? I'll tell you how they got there. They were migrants who came, and they were migrants who came, and they were coming up from the south, you know, and what ended up happening was you had governors, Republican governors, from the states of Florida and Texas. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, sending migrants across the country to to other parts of the country, especially places that that consider themselves sanctuary states and whatnot, right? So they sent them to California, and they sent them to Illinois, and they sent them to Massachusetts, and they sent them to Maryland, these places, right? Because what they were trying to do was, hey, we got a problem down here, and y'all ain't taking it seriously, so we're gonna send their asses up to you, right? So the invasion, allegedly, the invasion of the migrants, especially in places like Chicago, were brought to you by Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott. The same people that some of these folks would champion for their immigration policies and whatnot. Hey, they sent these immigrants to your community, and you blame these immigrants for draining your resources and everything else, but you don't blame the people who sent them there. Make that make sense? Make that make sense?
Truth. So don't get on here saying black people are being came for. They're coming because they're in our neighborhoods and our communities. That's why.
And we just explained how they got there.
So yes, they're going to go in buildings where black people live and sleep because they put them in buildings where black people live and sleep.
But that does not, hold on. They're going to go in buildings where black people live and sleep. However, again, with the warrant, hey, you got to say what you're going to get, who you're going to get, and why you're going to get them. You don't blanketly just take the whole fucking building. Right? So here's this woman openly advocating for the Fourth Amendment rights of those people who live in that building to be violated because she's upset that migrants are in her community, allegedly. She says she's from South Shore. Right? But because the migrants are in her community, somehow that means that the Fourth Amendment rights of the people who are already there, who are citizens, are supposed to be violated because migrants are there? Get the fuck out of here. That does not make fucking sense, man. It does not make sense. We got a couple comments here before I'm gonna I'm gonna read some of these comments here before we move on. My man Adam is in the chat, and he says, fact is, DHS has made no secret that they want to pin a badge on a bunch of new officers as soon as the ink is dry, complete with huge signing bonuses, right for Proud Boys to sign up en masse. And he also says, I grew up 4 blocks south of that raid, Rainbow Beach. I call bullshit on those people that say Latinos are some kind of foreign thing there. Always a big Latino population in South Chicago and Calumet. Not only South Chicago and Calumet, but also out there in Cicero. Right? Also out there in Cicero, where ICE is having a whole lot of operations going on out there too. But the idea that even though those people are there, that somehow we just supposed to accept that black people are supposed to have a Fourth Amendment, their Fourth Amendment rights stripped of them is stupid. It's fucking stupid. And to have a black woman getting her ass on social media advocating for that shit because she has some animosity towards the migrants is fucking stupid. Let's just call it what it is, man. Let's just call it what it is.
South Shore, born and raised. I know what I'm talking about. Stop pushing that narrative because it's not correct.
Now, this same user would then visit the South Shore apartment that was raided, where she would even confirm with a resident that the building had been taken over by Venezuelan immigrants.
Yeah, they been busting windows out.
Okay, because see, that's again a narrative that they done put on social media is that the ICE came and busted out y'all windows.
That's a lie.
So them windows over there right there,
They didn't bust out no window. ICE didn't bust out some windows.
These was already busted on that floor up there. Same way you saying over here. This is the building.
This should go inside.
That everyone is in an uproar about. So as I said, South Shore, this is your community, your neighborhood, and this building was not majority black when the ICE came the other day. Yes, black people were affected, but this building was overran by illegal Venezuelan gangs. And I just had several conversations with residents who are moving their stuff out of here that confirmed that.
But she didn't show those quote unquote several people in that building who confirms that. And also, it doesn't show any footage of her being inside that building. She's out here talking about broken windows on the outside of the building and whether or not ICE broke the outside of those windows. So was the woman who said that she never had a gun put in her face lying when she said she was, when the raid came and she was on her way home? Was she lying about that? Was that 67-year-old black woman, that black man lying when he talked about his apartment being ransacked and his belongings being thrown in the fucking hallway? Was he lying about that? Was the young lady who said she witnessed the kids being zip tied and led away from the building and being put in one of those budget vans? Was she lying? Did they all get together and start lying? Wow, she looks very fucking proud. Like, look at this, the goofy look on this woman's face right now. She's thinking she's presenting something to us. Ma'am, people of your community had their rights fucking violated. Meanwhile, you're thinking this is about Venezuelans. No, bitch. They are trying to... They are trying to make having troops in your neighborhood seem fucking normal, and it is not. They had a Black Hawk helicopter with ICE agents rappelling from Black Hawk helicopters, seizing an entire building where citizens resided, black citizens resided, and zip-tied those citizens, detained those citizens, kept those citizens from being able to execute their own autonomy, which is a violation of their Fourth Amendment rights. Separated those black tenants, those black citizens, from their children. Here you are with this goofy, dumbass, smug look while you talk about Venezuelans. Make that shit make sense, man. Make that shit make sense.
So stop letting media put that false narrative in your head that somebody coming for you, because they not. You was born here. You was born on this land.
Yeah, a lot of us were born on this land. That didn't stop our fucking rights from being violated. Dummy. That's the other part. Like, black folks been here in America since America's fucking founding. That didn't stop our fucking rights from being violated. Dummy. If you had been like learning in the history of this nation, you know this. Dummy. Like, what are you doing? Dummy. Other than being a mouthpiece for your own people's oppression. Dummy. What the fuck?
Rise up and stand up on something and stop letting any and everybody tell you something.
Would that include your your dumb ass? Seriously, would that include your dumb ass?
This conversation has caused many to question what rights do they have when encountering ICE, and do ICE agents need a warrant to arrest you? According to ICE.gov, agents can arrest you if they have suspicion. It goes on to read, ICE does not need judicial warrants to make arrests. Like all other law enforcement officers, can initiate consensual encounters and speak with people, briefly detain aliens when they have reasonable suspicion that the aliens are illegally present in the United States, and arrest people they believe are illegal aliens. ICE officers and agents can also detain and search people crossing the border. All aliens who violate U.S. immigration law are subject to arrest and detention, regardless of their criminal histories. Those with final orders of removal are removed from the United States. Now, according to NPR, the only time a warrant is needed by ICE is for arrests at homes or private businesses. In regards to the latest surrounding Chicago, protests have also begun in part of the city from those opposed to ICE's presence in Chicago. And this appears to now being used as a reason to send in the National Guard by the Trump administration. In a statement given to...
Because again, Donald Trump and his administration, what they're trying to do is that they're trying to agitate a situation. And it's not just in Chicago. They're trying to agitate a situation in Portland as well, where like they claim it's a war zone happening there. They claim that they did the same thing in Washington, D.C. They've sent the National Guard into Tennessee. They sent the National Guard into Memphis, Tennessee. And then I want to say, what was it? One of those governors, was it Louisiana? One of those governors called for the National Guard. Here's what's wild about that governor calling for the National Guard to be sent into the city, right? The National Guard is typically under the motherfucking control of the governor. The fact that he would call for Donald Trump to send in the National Guard when he himself could have done so is fucking trippy to the ends of trippiness. Like, like you needed the president to command the troops that are under your control. Get the fuck out of here. It's all performative shit. All of this shit. They're using the National Guard. They're using ICE. And they're using the army as much as they would like to. They're trying. Donald Trump went in front of a group of fucking like the generals and admirals and all these like these commissioned officers and told them we got a war with it. He's trying to normalize using the United States military against his own fucking people. Against his own people. And in these interactions that we're having with ICE, that we're having with the National Guard, they're trying to normalize troops being on the streets, man. And it's amazing that more people don't see this, like as the play for what it was. Like, I'll just say this: when it comes to what's happening now, I think, and I don't want to be hyperbolic here, but I think what's happening now is because the Supreme Court has given Donald Trump immunity for those actions that he takes as president of the United States. And also because Donald Trump sees himself as not beholden to the laws of the United States, because he's never really been held accountable for the shit he's done. He's never really been held accountable for shit. I think what we're witnessing is an administration or regime that doesn't feel like they're going to be held accountable for nothing and don't plan on being not in charge for a while, right? We saw Donald Trump's attorney general go before this a Senate oversight committee meeting and just openly antagonize and attack senators who were not of the Republican Party. Every Democratic president, every Democratic senator who asked her a question in there, she not only did not answer their questions, but she also verbally attacked them, politically attacked them, right? These are not the actions of people who think that they're going to be held accountable anytime soon, right? As much as people say, well, you know, Richard Nixon got off, but the people who were around Richard Nixon went to prison. What's stopping Donald Trump from pardoning them from some shit that they done did before he leaves office? Or he doesn't leave office at all, and they just in charge permanently. Who knows? Who knows? But I do know one thing. Is that we see the actions of this administration. They're showing us what they, they're showing us what they want to do and how they want to govern. It's time we start acting like that. It's time we start acting like this is what we're up against. This is what we're faced with. And govern ourselves accordingly. Now, of course, I'm not saying to capitulate to this bullshit. Absolutely not. But we would be some fucking fools to not recognize what exactly is happening right now. And yeah, it's surprising to me that, yeah, there's some voices in Chicago, some black voices in Chicago who would champion this bullshit. But I don't think that those people represent the vast majority of black Chicago. I doubt very seriously that they represent the voices of black Chicago. But here we are. I'm going to let this video play out.
To ABC7, a White House spokesperson would confirm Trump's move to follow through with sending in the National Guard. Amidst ongoing violent riots and lawlessness, the local leaders like Illinois Governor Fitzer have refused to step in to quell. President Trump has authorized 300 National Guardsmen to protect federal officers and assets. President Trump will not turn a blind eye to lawlessness plaguing American cities. So let's talk about it more in the comments below. What do you take from this latest response by President Trump to send in the National Guard to Chicago?
It's a bullshit play. But my man Jay Full is in the chat, and Jay Full says Trump is not leaving office in 2028. The ballroom he's building is almost twice the size of the White House. You don't start a project like that as a second-term president. There's that. But also, there's that Air Force One plane that he got from the Qatari government. Y'all remember that shit? There's that plane that he got from the Qatari government where that's supposed to be Air Force One. However, it's supposed to be Air Force One, and it's only going to be ready afterwards, after his term is over with. So how could it possibly be fucking Air Force One if his plane after his term is supposed to be done? These people don't plan on leaving. He didn't plan on leaving the first fucking time. Y'all, he plans on leaving now? He's even worse now than he was the first time. And this is the part that, like, I think isn't really jiving with folks. This motherfucker has no plans on leaving. The only reason he ran was to keep from being put in jail. And now y'all done gave this motherfucker damn near unlimited powers. The court is capitulating. The Supreme Court is capitulating to this motherfucker. Many of these companies, many of these like these media companies, they folded under the pressure of this because they're not beholden to a set of rule. What's the word that I'm looking for here? They're not beholden to a set of like ethics. They're not beholden to a set of like any real like cultural guidance, so to speak. They're beholden by their shareholders. Hey, how can we make more money for our shareholders? And they will capitulate in order to gain favor and curry with the current administration, which is why you have ABC News paying Donald Trump $16 million for an alleged edit that they did with the Kamala Harris interview that they also did for his bitch ass. Fox News does it all the time for his bitch ass, right? This is how you get ABC also taking Jimmy Kimmel off of the fucking airways for like maybe about a week or so, only to be, you know, like turn coat when they're like, yo, the people ain't with this shit. We done lost 1.6 million fucking Disney Plus subscribers. We might want to bring this motherfucker back. Right? Donald Trump is pushing every motherfucking button he can to show that he plans on running this place like a dictatorship. Which is why I can't wait for this motherfucker to kick the bucket. I ain't gonna lie. I can't wait. Niggas gonna be a party over here when that motherfucker kicks the bucket. Not even gonna lie about it. Nigga, we gonna be the crown gonna be flowing, margaritas flowing, fireworks going. Nigga, we having a party over here when that motherfucker kicks the bucket. Oh, I can't wait. I can't fucking wait. But this silly chick right here, and those who are about, you know, whatever's going on with ICE and like invading, you know, our sanctuaries and places of, you know, people of color, man, fuck that bitch, man. Real talk. J4 also says, bro, you already know foreign intelligence agencies going to be installing all kinds of listening devices during construction of the ballroom and the plane. Man, listen, again, like I said, he doesn't plan on not being president of the United States anymore. And I don't know how many people just don't take heed to that. Like, I think that people think, I think, unfortunately, people think, too many people think that what's happening right now, although it's not necessarily normal, it's not affecting them right now. And until it affects them personally, they're not going to check in. That's a sad thing about what's happening in America right now. Until it affects Americans personally, they're not going to check in. And by then, it may be too late. All right? It may be too late, man. So we got that going on. Let's see. We got some other shit going on, man. There's a lot of shit. I've been going on for a while. It's already 2 hours over in this show. But I got some other shit going on, man. I mean, there's a couple of different stories that I want to talk about before we get up out of here. But while I talk about people not paying attention, people not necessarily taking heed to what exactly is going on in the world, Trump ironically said some shit about there not being no more free speech. Yeah, man, Trump said some shit about there not being any more free speech or whatever, that he took it away. Like, he said the shit is like a throwaway type of like thing or whatever. So we get this story here. This comes out of USA Today. And let's see, so there's video. So let me go ahead and pull up the video so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on a second while I do this here. And let's see what the fuck Trump is talking about. Why this nigga talking about he took away free speech? What is this goofy motherfucker talking about? Let's listen to y'all's president say this shit.
We took the freedom of speech away because that's been through the courts, and the court said you have freedom of speech. But what has happened is when they burn a flag, it agitates and irritates crowds.
Establishing specialized units in the D.C. National Guard.
Trump made the comment during a roundtable discussion on Antifa. So apparently, Donald Trump had a roundtable discussion with a bunch of MAGA supporters, MAGA influencers, where they talked about free speech, and one MAGA supporter brought like a burned American flag to this particular meeting. But he was surrounded by sycophants. He was surrounded by fucking sycophants. And they talked about Antifa as if Antifa is like Al Qaeda, right? They talked about Antifa as if Antifa was like Al Qaeda. It is not the same fucking thing. It never has been, never will be the same thing. But also think about this for a second. Imagine going out of your way to say that a group that calls itself anti-fascist, that you would defend, like you would designate a group named anti-fascist a terrorist organization. Make that make sense. Make it make sense. They're anti-fascist for their terrorist organization. Come on, man. Come on, man. But also, like, it's an amorphous sort of thing, right? There is no fucking Antifa fucking... there is no fucking Antifa hierarchy. There are no Antifa cells. There are people who believe that, like, hey, fascism is wrong, and we should fight against fascism. And sometimes some of those folks are like, hey, you know what? I also think that fascism is wrong. Maybe we should fight against that. And to think that, like, yo, the people that are against fascism are my enemy, and we need to destroy them. Meanwhile, right-wing leaning motherfuckers are like, hey, we really should be against these Antifa motherfuckers. You know, they're really causing trouble. Are they?
And National Guard units around the country, specifically.
Okay, so in this video, for those of you guys who are not watching, it says, in 1989, the U.S. Supreme Court established that flag burning is protected speech, which means that it is protected by your First Amendment. You cannot be arrested for burning a flag in the United States of America. It's a part of your First Amendment rights. Trump also mentioned that his executive order that directed his administration to prosecute people who burn American flags. Essentially, he signed an executive order that calls it a crime to burn the American flag, despite the fact that the Supreme Court of the United States in 1989 deemed it constitutional for you to be able to burn an American flag. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Like, I implore the people who are MAGA, who may find themselves listening to this shit, because I'm sure I don't come up on your algorithm, but in the off chance that I do, come on, man. Come on, man. The executive order describes the flag as the country's most sacred and cherished symbol. It states its desecration is unequivocally offensive and provocative. Although it may be provocative, I don't know if it's also unequivocally or uniquely offensive. I don't know if you can say that, because American citizens often do it when they disapprove of what the American government is doing. So what essentially Donald Trump is trying to do is to make protest against him and his government a crime. Seems very dictatorial to me. Yeah, man. We got that going on, man. Donald Trump says no more free speech for y'all. Y'all can't burn a flag. Y'all ain't got no more free speech. I took it away. And he said that shit is almost like a throwaway line. Almost like a throwaway line. Some more goofy shit that's happened with Donald Trump. Apparently there's a congressman and he is upset that Donald Trump did not win. There's a congressman who was upset that Donald Trump did not win the Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants a constitution. I'm sorry, but he wants to present a resolution in the United States House of Representatives that recognizes Donald Trump as the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
Yeah. He got that. We got that going on. So let me go ahead and pull this story up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Hold on a second here. And this is Representative Buddy Carter. Now, who were the people who elected Buddy Carter to Congress? I don't know. But they need their asses whooped for this. And this story is posted on Twitter. I'm no longer on Twitter, but let me do this here so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. Shout out to Aaron Rupar for posting this. But let's see exactly what the fuck this congressperson is talking about. Check this out.
And I applaud him for that. That's why he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize. And that's why I'm introducing a resolution for a sense of Congress today that will honor him with the Nobel Peace Prize. And if need be, we'll call for a discharge petition on that. I hope we can work with the speaker, though, and get it on the floor for a vote.
Do you
Think about this for a second. Think about this for a second. The Nobel Peace Prize is something that is given by a foreign country. It's given by a foreign country, but it's also decided by a commission from that foreign country on who they decide they want to give it to. Okay. It is not a governmental award. It is sort of a private award, right? But this dumb motherfucker wants to gum up our. Wait, the government is shut down. Hold on, let's get that. Let's get that straight too. The government is shut down. The United States government is shut down right now. And this silly motherfucker is so moved by the fact that Donald Trump was not given the Nobel Peace Prize. He is so moved by this that he wants to bring a resolution to the floor of the United States House of Representatives. To give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Even though the United States has no fucking control whatsoever over who gets the fucking Nobel Peace Prize, man.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
He really doing this. He really went on the motherfucking news to do this shit. I'm gonna pull this back. Hold on. Let's listen to this again. Let's listen to this again.
And
Oh my
Donald Trump
God.
has done that, and I applaud him for that. That's why he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, and that's why I'm introducing a resolution for a sense of Congress today that will honor him with the Nobel Peace Prize. And if need be, we'll call for a discharge petition on that. I hope we can work with the speaker, though, and get it on the floor for a vote.
Do you think Democrats will ever acknowledge his role in this peace process?
No, I don't think so. And let's face it, right now, what we're witnessing with Chuck Schumer is just trying to be more anti-Trump than AOC because he's afraid he's going to get primaried by her. They have such a Trump derangement syndrome over there that I doubt anything that it is going to help President Trump or honor President Trump is going to be supported by the Democrats.
Listen, I hope that whomever this congressperson is, I hope that when you're at the White House blowing Donald Trump, that you don't get nothing in your hair. I really do. The obsequiousness of many of these MAGA sort of politicians definitely needs to be studied after we're over MAGA, after this MAGApox is done with America. This is fucking bananas. This is stupid beyond measure. This is for those of you who are on the right, if you are watching this show with any level of fucking objectivity, You got to understand that this is ridiculous, right? You got to understand this is ridiculous. Donald Trump wasn't given the Nobel Peace Prize. Guess what? The vast majority of American presidents were not given the Nobel Peace Prize. The only reason why Donald Trump is obsessed with getting the Nobel Peace Prize is because Barack Obama was given a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, whether Barack Obama was deserving of said Peace Prize is debatable. Even I would say that. Even I would say that. But the reason why he is so adamant about being able to get one is because Barack Obama has one. And the fact that you have Congress people thinking that this is the most important thing on earth for us to be worried about when the government is shut down is laughable. It's laughable. This is why many of us on the left, many of us who are not a part of the Trump cult, many of us who are not Republicans, look at a lot of y'all like, y'all got to be some of the stupidest motherfuckers in the face of creation. Because these are the type of people that y'all elect. These are the type of people that y'all think we should take seriously. These are the type of people y'all even put on y'all news. This is dumb. This is dumb and like there's nothing else to say about it. This is just fucking stupid, man. This is fucking stupid. Like, you want a resolution on the House floor to make Donald Trump the winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, despite that's not how that fucking works? That's
not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
We need to bring civics back. We need to bring civics back into the schools. Part of the reason why I feel like we're here right now, way too many people don't know how the government works. And now we got this motherfucker. Who is this guy? Matter of fact, let's find out. Which one? Let me Google this. I'm sorry. I gotta Google this shit now. Congressman. Let's see. Congress. Wants Trump win Peace Prize. I just want this nigga's name. That's all I want. I want his name. Okay. We get this here from Yahoo. And his name is let's see, a GOP lawmaker told Fox Business on Friday that he's working on the resolution to award Donald Trump a Nobel Peace Prize since the Nobel Committee failed to do so on Friday morning. Representative Buddy Carter, Republican from Georgia. Georgia, I don't live down there, but y'all send the motherfuckers to the Congress and low-key.
Makes me sick, motherfucker, how far we done fell.
This is what y'all sending. These are the motherfuckers that y'all are sending to Congress. Him and Marjorie Taylor Greene, y'all owe the nation a motherfucking apology. Like, y'all do.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
Yeah, man, yeah. We got that going on. You know what? I had some other stories that I really did want to talk about, but it's not important. At least not now. I may save them for another show. Y'all may see me on the mic again tomorrow. Yeah, real talk. Because there's so much going on in the world, man. But tonight, I've been looking at this clock, man. I've been on the mic for over 2 hours, man. 2 hours and almost 30 minutes. So I'm going to get on up out of here. And we're going to talk some more. Real soon. Like I said, I might be on the mic again tomorrow. But of course, before I get on up out of here, I do got to remind you guys how to get in touch with your man Spann and let your voice be heard, man. Real talk. We're gonna talk about that. But yeah, let me pull this up. But for those of you who want to interact with the show, hit me up on our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Those voicemail messages Of course, those messages will get read here and replied to here live on the show. You can also email me here at feedback. I'm sorry. No, you can't. Not at feedback@thespanreport.com. What you can do is hit your boy up on Threads and Instagram. My name on both of those platforms is Mr._Spann. Follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. You can also hit me up on iTunes and or Spotify. Those you can leave us a 5-star review on those platforms. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get read here live on the show. Really appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know. While you're rocking with us over here, the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Also, leave us a, I already talked about the 5-star reviews, but also, if you want to leave us some money, if you want to contribute to what we're doing over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast, man, go ahead and buy yourself some merch, man. We got stuff in our store, man. We got hats, we got hoodies, we got coffee mugs, we got mouse pads, we got water bottles. We got a bunch of stuff in our store, man, and we really do appreciate everybody who patronizes us in that way. And, I want you to get something back for the money that you put up towards what we got going on over here, man, real talk. But also, I just want, let me say this. I've been drinking, so excuse me. But no, real talk. For those of you who are on the YouTube and you want to talk to us on YouTube, we will highlight your comments on YouTube. Tonight we were being, like some of the disrespectful ones we let slide through. And I addressed y'all. But understand this here. We want real conversation. We want good faith dialogue. I would hope that what we foster here is good faith dialogue. And that's the only rule that we have here. Good faith dialogue. If you can't be in good faith, then don't bother us over here. That's all we ask for. Good faith dialogue. So for those of you who will reach out to us on YouTube, if you disagree with what we're talking about here, that's fine. Just be of good faith. Don't come here with the bullshit. We will shut that down. And we will clown you if we acknowledge you at all. So if you want to be acknowledged, at least be of good faith. That's all we ask. Real talk. But yeah, man, I'm about to get on up out of here. And we got a comment here. Before we get on up out of here, my man Adam says, great show, Mr. Spann. Thanks again. Hey, man, thank you for being a part of the audience, man. And thank you for your contribution to the discussion, man. Real talk. Thank you so much. But yeah, man, we're about to get on up out of here. And I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam.